in-depth, investigative. This is KXAN News Today.
Austin police are looking for more information on the death of a 24-year-old man last seen at in South Austin at a Walmart in April. Thanks for joining us. I'm Tom Miller.
Good morning. I'm Sally Hernandez. We know his body was found in a southeast Austin greenbelt more than a week later. There's a $10,000 reward. It has not helped close the case just yet. Investigators and the young man's family speaking with KXAN's Brianna Hollis about what they are looking for.
How are you feeling right now?
Oh, wow. I guess it's just kind of hard to put into words because when a piece of you is missing, I guess it's hard to describe the emptiness that you feel.
Misty Moon is the mother of 24-year-old Christian Rangel.
I feel angry that this person chose to take the life of my son and, dispose of his body.
Police believe someone killed him. They've arrested this woman, 31-year-old Camry Wooldridge, and charged her with tampering with human remains. Police say if evidence supports it, investigators may elevate that to a murder charge, but there are still some missing pieces.
Complex homicide cases is kind of like putting together a puzzle.
Homicide detective Patrick Reed is the lead on the case.
If you have a 1,000-piece puzzle and you're missing 5 pieces, you can still tell that that's a horse or a house. So oftentimes I think people feel like information they have is inconsequential, but when you start putting that puzzle together, it helps you fill in those gaps.
He says gathering forensic evidence is challenging because of the state of Rangel's body when police found him. So investigators are trying to pursue other evidence to catch his killer.
He was loved.
Rangel's mother holding out hope someone out there can help fill in the blanks.
The day it happened was, the solar eclipse day, April 8th. Everyone remembers where they were at that day.
Brianna Hollis, KXAN News.
Now, APD is offering a potential $1,000 reward through Crime Stoppers, and Rangel's family is contributing to an additional $9,000 on top of that. So here's more information on how Crime Stoppers rewards this kind of work if a tip helps lead to an arrest or solve a case. Austin police will then submit a tip reward request to the Crime Stoppers board. The board is made up of civilian volunteers. They will confirm or they will deny issuing of any kind of reward money. APD says its team meets this board once a month to go over the proposed reward amounts.
In 2024, Austin police investigated 70 homicides, and some still have not resulted in arrests. To keep track of Austin homicides, digital data reporter Christopher Adams has an interactive map on our website. You can hover over the locations, get the details from the case's investigation, including information on any arrests and suspects.
First warning weather with meteorologist Kristen Curry.
Hey, good morning to you and happy Friday. Here's a live look outside from our Ewell Kubota weather camera there in Georgetown. Looking a little fuzzy. I was just checking in on some of those observation sites, and we do have reduced visibility in parts of the Austin metro already, and we know this is likely to get a little worse before it gets better as we get closer to sunrise. Visibility down to about 3 miles right now in San Saba, down to 4 miles at the airport. That does stretch down towards San Marcos. Temperatures nice and cozy this morning, 60s and low 70s. This is where we should be in the afternoon this time of year, but it is unseasonably warm to start the day and to finish the day. High temperature of 82 here in Austin today. Not likely to break the record, but we'll get within about 4 to 5 degrees. Clouds will disappear to sunshine slowly but surely. But these near record temperatures are not going away just yet. We're likely going to do it again tomorrow before a cold front moves in Sunday, kicks off cooler and wetter weather as we transition into our next work week. We'll talk more about that coming up in your first warning forecast. In the meantime, I want to tell you about this. Some Texans getting close to $1 million to reduce the risk of wildfire danger. The Texas A&M Forest Service awarded the money to about 170 landowners to conduct prescribed fires this year for more than 35,000 acres of private land across our state. Now, these help reduce the risk of future wildfires. The Forest Service tells us these prescribed burns are usually performed in the winter or during some mild spring weather conditions to keep those fires under control. Getting ahead of the Texas summer heat, the organization is opening application proposals for those looking for financial assistance to protect their property ahead of wildfire season. That deadline is to apply in April.
Thank you, Kristen. Efforts to tie public university funding here in Texas to the diversity, equity, and inclusion ban is being reintroduced in the state legislature. Some lawmakers are pushing a bill on this. It would limit the influence that some professors have on college students, specifically targeting what they call ideologies tied to DEI. If passed, state law would require public universities to submit compliance reports before they're allowed to spend state dollars. A violation that goes unsolved after 180 days would make the school ineligible for future funding increases. The bill would also give students and staff the right to sue if they are required to participate in DEI training.
Good morning to you as we take a live look from our camera over at Ewell Kubota in Georgetown. You see I-35 right there looking good as we wake you up here on KXAN News Today on this Friday. And in Georgetown, there's an expansion that will soon help with the growing number of autopsies needed in Williamson County. So currently the county has no medical examiner. That leaves it on local judges and forensic pathologists to investigate a person's death.
And as KXAN's Sarah Alshay explains, this facility is going to help keep up with the increased demand to get families answers.
What's now just dirt and sticks in a few months will be a place providing answers to families who lost a loved one.
We want to make it a warm, welcoming environment.
On Thursday, Hill Country Forensics broke ground for its new facility in Georgetown.
This office will have the capacity to do 3 cases at once, whereas right now we can do 2, but it's a little tight, so it's a little uncomfortable.
This new site doubles the current facility. All of this in an effort to help keep up with the caseload, according to Chief Forensic Pathologist Dr. Satish Chandru.
Near the end of 2020, we went from about 450 cases to 790 cases.
Hill Country Forensics works with Williamson County on autopsies. The county currently has no medical examiner. That responsibility falls on the justices of the peace, like Judge K.T. Musselman.
The issuance of death certificates and the determination of cause of death falls to the justices of the peace, which there's only 4 in Williamson County.
It's something that's impacted residents, a topic KXAN reported on extensively, speaking with people like Cindy Dennis Pollard. She says it took 8 months to get the autopsy back for her father.
My dad was in a freezer at the funeral home around the street from my house. Every day I drove to work, I would have to pass my dad.
Since that report last March, Judge Musselman says the county hired 4 death investigators.
Have experienced investigators be able to assess scenes, assess situations, determine if autopsies are ultimately needed or not.
Commissioners Court have also approved funding for a medical examiner in the next 2 to 3 years, helping to serve more families and bring them answers faster.
Sometimes it's the worst day of a family's life. Bring closure by giving them the right answers in a timely fashion.
Sarah Alshay, KXAN News.
Thank you, Sarah. Last October, the county bought a facility which sits on just over 28 acres for the future Williamson County Medical Examiner's Office. Now, last October, KXAN investigators found just 14 of the state's 254 counties have a medical examiner. And Texas law requires a medical examiner in counties with at least 2.5 million people, but county commissioners could establish one at any time.
This is KXAN Sports, brought to you by Thomas J. Henry.
UT women beginning a tough stretch. 4 ranked teams in a row beginning on Thursday night against number 24 Vanderbilt. Longhorns trying to prove to 10-1 on the season in the SEC. And it's a good Vanderbilt team, and Texas did something they don't normally do. They lit it up from 3. Shea Holly had 3 of her 16 right there. That's a season high. Taylor Jones gives Texas the 11-point lead at the quarter. Holly had as many points as Vandy did in the first quarter. Then Jordan Lee hits a couple of threes. Longhorns up by 15, and it was a 13-point lead at the half. Then Michaela Blakes, the super freshman who had 53 in a game last week, cuts it to a 5-point game, but here comes Texas. You see Brianna Preston, the freshman, takes it back out to a 13-point lead at the end of the third quarter. She's a little bit fired up. And then Madison Booker, career points, 999 and 2,000 or 1,000 right there. She had 20. And Kyla Oldacre, block shot at one end and then taking it to the hoop at the other. Longhorns hit 9 of 13 from 3. They win by 21. I'm sure Vic Schaefer felt it was much closer than that, but they get the win. So that sets up that Super Bowl Sunday showdown with South Carolina, the last team to beat Texas. If the Longhorns can pull off the win over the number 2 Gamecocks, they would have a piece of first place in the SEC. Back to you.
Thank you, Roger. So the Super Bowl, as you know, is expected to reach more than 100 million viewers. Maybe that's you. With advertisers paying record amounts to show off their brands, of course, during the commercials.
Yeah, major money is going to be spent here. NBC News' Jesse Kirsch explains why companies are spending so much if traditional television is starting to lose viewers to streaming.
The Super Bowl, America's biggest sporting event, and so much more. Some of us watch for the football, others wait for halftime. And in between the two, so many tuning in for the commercials. Classic ads can live on in American culture for decades. But if you want a shot at that kind of glory this year, it's gonna cost some serious dough. A source telling CNBC broadcaster Fox sold some ads for a record $8 million each, which did not scare advertisers away.
If you're still bent on blowing this fat stack of cash, there's a couple ways you could do it.
So why are companies shelling out big time if traditional TV is hemorrhaging viewers to streaming in our phones?
So the Super Bowl is really unique in that people want to watch the advertising. They're looking forward to it. The other thing in terms of viewership, the Super Bowl keeps trending up.
More than 123 million people watched last year's Super Bowl. Nielsen says that helped set the record for the largest audience for a single network telecast in history.
When you realize the U.S. only has 330 million people, you're going to reach about 1 out of every 3 people in the country. There's no other way to do this.
One market research company says the average Super Bowl ad is 20 times more effective than a regular TV ad at driving brand perceptions. And featuring a celebrity, while costing even more, can also pay off.
We're doing a Dunkin' Donuts commercial, right?
Expected this year, Ben and Casey Affleck teaming up with Jeremy Strong for the latest talker from Dunkin' Donuts. The cast of NBC Universal's Fast and Furious reuniting for a Haagen-Dazs ad.
I can't believe they let us back in this place.
And Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan adding to the excitement, recreating the iconic scene from When Harry Met Sally. Sydney Sweeney even making a cameo.
I'll have what she's having.
This time, they're having Hellmann's mayonnaise. Other brands introducing new faces. Duracell says it's running its first ever national Super Bowl ad, introducing an ambassador to take on a perennial icon, the Energizer Bunny.
They keep going and going.
When everybody has seen the same ad, all of a sudden that's something people can talk about and they can interact with it. And best case, it can turn your ad into a discussion topic, and it can even emerge as part of the whole culture and society.
A good Super Bowl ad able to live on well after the final whistle.
And it's because of the internet that ads like that live on.
I know. I know. I'm sure that's where they did their research, just pulling some of those off of YouTube.
I love it, though. It's such a part of the game now.
I know.
You know,
I know.
for some of the commercials get overlooked in your day-to-day shows, but not during the big game.
I mean, for good reason, normally, I would say during the day-to-day. But it is, they bring out all the stunts for the Super Bowl.
Except for our advertisers. We appreciate you, and we're so thankful
100%.
Yeah, but have that signature on the bottom of our checks. Let me show you what's going on with your forecast here, because we continue with this warm weather. Have you all enjoyed it this week? I mean, it's kind of a nice change of pace to get a little bit of that spring-like feel in the month of February, considering we've got some definitely colder Februarys behind us in recent years. We're going to continue with the nice weather today, not seeing anything in the way of major issues outside right now. Ally Medical Emergency Room camera there in Dripping Springs looking quiet, although we talked earlier about the fact that there are some areas dealing with fog. It's patchy fog right now. With a current temperature of 69 degrees in Austin, variable winds less than 10 miles per hour and high humidity. Speaking of which, dew points definitely on the higher side with the moisture in those dew points in the mid to upper 60s. You can see where that dry line sets up well to our west, with the drier air just hovering behind that cold front, or dry line, I should say, out in West Texas. I got cold front on the brain because it's coming, y'all. As we get into the weekend, these 80s disappear. So enjoy it while it's here. Forecast high of 82. The record's 86. So I don't think we'll get close to it or surpass it today, but we will tomorrow. South winds help us keep this warming trend through the start of the weekend. The southerly winds also keep the moisture pretty high. So we're talking cloudy skies this morning, perhaps a couple spots of mist and drizzle, but nothing that looks to be meaningful rain. Some partly clear to mostly clear skies later this evening, but then the clouds come right back in here for tomorrow morning. Likely to see the sunshine sooner as we get into Saturday. And Saturday looks to be the warmest day of the next 7. Forecast high of 87 tomorrow. Then Sunday, cooler behind a cold front. The timing of this cold front will make or break that temperature, and some models want to bring it in earlier, which would mean cooler temperatures here in Austin and everybody to the north. So there's a little bit of a question mark as to just how warm we get ahead of the cold front on Sunday, but just know that Sunday is the transition day. It won't be as warm as where we're going to be tomorrow, and then from that point forward, temperatures only get cooler, and our wetter weather, I should say, comes in behind it. So Sunday, I still think we're going to be dry, but come Monday, make sure you have that raincoat. Late in the day, some rain chances. We continue this Tuesday, and again on Wednesday, we got rain chances even into the first part of Thursday. So next week, I think, is our opportunity to maybe pick up half an inch to an inch of rain. That's what most of our computers are pointing to right now. But that does mark the end of this nice, comfortable weather. So today and tomorrow, last couple days of 80s for now. We know there will be more later in the spring. We're just putting a pause on that warm weather with mostly to partly clear skies tomorrow, clouding up Sunday, I should say. And then here's the rain chances. As you can see, up to about 50% here with this secondary cold front Tuesday, Wednesday. Temperatures coming down to the 50s and 60s. Overnight lows down to the 30s as we wake up next Thursday morning. Tom?
Thank you, Kristen. The statewide average price for a tank of regular unleaded fuel stayed steady this week and now sits at $2.74 a gallon. According to AAA, Austin area drivers seeing prices a little higher than that, than the statewide average at $2.81. Meantime, in El Paso, drivers paying the most in the state, $2.96. Drivers in Laredo, Lubbock, Tyler, and Wichita Falls paying the least, $2.61. The state overall faring a lot better than the rest of the country, where the average price nationwide is $3.14 a gallon. The U.S. Energy Information Administration says as we get closer to spring, we can expect to see fluctuating prices. That comes as pumps slowly make the switch to their summer gas blends.
Now, if this Sunday is the biggest night in sports with the Super Bowl, then next Sunday, the night may be one of the biggest nights in pop culture when Saturday Night Live celebrates 50 years with a 3-hour special anniversary. But before there was 50, there was 40. Mark Berger looks back at SNL's big celebration. This was in 2015.
A familiar phrase started a trip down memory lane 10 years ago.
Live from New York, it's Saturday night!
Celebrating a legacy stretching back to 1975.
We established the legacy, but the people who came after us kept it alive in such a quality way.
The whole bass.
Dan Aykroyd was among the cast members returning to the scene of Studio 8H glory.
What a lovely image. It goes without saying, I wouldn't have had a career without Saturday Night Live.
I can't believe that I'm part in any way of something that I love so much.
Just auditioning, frankly, was my dream come true.
The night attracted a who's who of talent.
Tonight's guest list is beyond any Oscars or Grammys or Emmys that you're ever going to see.
It says a lot about this place. There really is nothing like it anywhere else, truly.
Everyone wanted to be a part of it. I mean, most everyone is here.
All because SNL's visionary, Lorne Michaels, rolled the dice on something new.
This man and this group of people has seeded the comedy landscape for 40 years, and they've just given us such an incredible gift.
And even 10 years ago, there was anticipation for SNL 50.
So you think we'll be around for a 50th?
I think so. Oh, I definitely think so.
A confidence that was well placed. Mark Barger, NBC News.
And the SNL 50th anniversary special airs next Sunday night at 7 with the red carpet coverage starting at 6. And the show's very first episode, when it was simply called Saturday Night, that airs next Saturday. The host for that first show was comedian George Carlin.
This has just gotten so out of hand.
A common sight, window smash, items stolen when you're parked at some local parks and some trails. We are diving into the security upgrades to keep your property safe there. If you're listening on the KXAN Today podcast, thanks for being with us. Hope you'll join us on air for that. We can find all our stories on our website, KXAN.com.